Welcome back to the class, everyone. The additive drops for the 4 Leia marquee characters are officially live, and that's great. And we've taken a look at how you should be hoarding and how many refreshes you should be doing per character, depending on what your shard goals are. But the more I've been looking at this recently, the more I'm seeing some different hyper efficiencies that I want to talk about today, specifically having to do what nodes are we supposed to be farming. So the reason why this has become more of a question this time than it has in other of our like additive or double drops is because this is specifically calling out Krex and Nissa only being able to get their shards via hard nodes. For those of you who are a little unaware of what we're talking about right now, we just did a video and these are currently live in game where you're getting bonus shards for Krex, Nissa, Drogon, and Scout for their respective energies when you go and do those nodes. Really any node on any of those platforms, you'll be able to get bonus drops. The reason why this becomes important is because when we start to look at value, basically how many Krex shards are you going to get when you go to a random light side hard node versus his own dark side node, it's a little surprising what's going to happen. So again, what are we talking about here? When we go back in game, there will be currently 2 ways to farm Krex for the next 4 days. You have 2 options, and I'm going to even say you shouldn't do both of them. You should only do one of them. When we look up our good friend Commander Rex here, you can find him on his node. This would typically be a 12 energy hard node, meaning if you're wanting to get all 5 of the shards, you're going to need to spend 60 energy. We pretty confidently know what the drop rates are for these shards. They're about 33% per pull. And when we start to add all that math into the calculation versus what we know the event to be, which it looks like the event drop rate is about 3% drop rate per energy, and we put all these calculations in, it comes out, and this is a little bit crazy, it is more efficient to farm Krex on a random light side hard node than it is on his node at all. So regardless of your refreshes for normal energy, whether you're doing none, you're doing the 50s, the 100s, or the 200s, if our numbers are correct, that means going out and farming any random light side node, you're going to get better drops overall on average than you would if you were going to come through his specific node. So when this hits for me tomorrow, which for you guys it'll be today, I'm going to completely ignore this node for 2 reasons. Number 1, the drop rates aren't as good. Number 2, there's a lot of really valuable resources that can be found on other random hard nodes. So I want to specifically talk about 2, and really it's 1 and then more so a concept one. Oh, so not dark side. That's not going to be helpful. That's not where his additive drops are going to be. They're going to be specifically on these hard nodes. And I want to call out Tech's node first. And the reason why we're doing this first and not just in general, because those of you who know, back when we would have this kind of thing on the normal nodes, it was really easy because we just had to pick the most efficient node out there and just spam it like 30,000 times and call it a day. We can't really do that with the hard nodes. We have to pick many of them to be able to get as many Krex shards as possible. So if we go back to the 5 hard node here, one of the best nodes that you can actually farm just in general for a general roster is going to be the Tech node. And the reason why, number 1, you're going to get better Krex drop rates as we previously saw, and then on top of that you get 4 pieces that are really valuable for CCB and Bronzium wiring. Those are the 2 beginning relic pieces that you'll need to take up a lot of characters. I'm not super short on all of them, but again, when we look at hyper efficiencies, this is something that over these 4 days can help me get a little bit farther ahead if I do this rather than another node. This one is actually the really valuable one that we've been currently doing on Fleet, as well as found on the Chirotech node. And then on top of that, you get these 3 other pieces, 2 of which are for the Carbonite and 1 is also for Bronzium wiring. So it's a really good bang for your buck node, better Krex drop rates, better gear. And then on top of that, if you do get Tech shards, then that's just extra shard shop currency. And speaking of shard shop currency, once you're done specifically with that one, go and look on some of these other light side hard nodes. Even if you already have the characters farmed, if you don't have the characters farmed, definitely do those first. That probably should have been said before anything. You really only want to do the Tech node if you don't, or if you already have all the characters you want out of the light side nodes. Shard shop currency is great and all, but new characters are much better than shard shop currency. That being said, let's say you already have all the characters that you really want here. You've already done your tech to get all those good resources. Just go in and find something that has gear you need, or double shards. So it can be armor and base, it can be a ship and Krennic. It really doesn't matter how it comes out here. You will get about the same amount of shards, shop currency, no matter what. And just keep farming these, because again, you're going to get better drop rates on Krex than you would on his normal node. And then on top of that, you get a ton of charge up currency because they're double hard nodes essentially, and then you get whatever gear comes along with it. I thought about making a list, but it would just get really convoluted really quickly. So tech is kind of the overall best, and then just aim for ones that have double shards. And again, this is scaled by energy, so you don't have any, like, you don't have a higher chance of getting correct shards by going all the way down here and doing the 12s than you do the 20s, or vice versa. It'll all work out the same as long as you were spending the exact amount of energy. Now, it is important for us to go back and look at our sheet here and notice that Nisa actually falls even harder into the same exact position, where you are going to be able to get more shards from her if you're focusing on the fleet node rather than the hard node. The only reason, actually there's two reasons. The two reasons why you still want to farm Nisa on her own node as well. Number one, fleet and normal energy are two different types of energy. So it's not either or, it's both and. You should be going both after her own node as a hard node, because you also get Krex shards that way, but you also get Nisa shards that way. And then with fleet energy, which has nothing to do with Nisa's normal node on the light side territory battle, or not light side territory battle, but the light side node, you can also get it from there. But just as it states, you really do, where you can, you do want to be able to do those hard nodes on fleet, even if you already have everything farmed. Again, if you don't have everything already farmed, then go ahead and farm what you need to and just get the Nisa drops as a bonus. But I wanted to point out the fact that 3% energy or drop rate per energy is a lot better than hers is currently, because while Krex only has a 12 energy node, Nisa has a 16. So you're having to pay out more energy, and arguably more valuable energy, because it's normal instead of fleet, where you could take a less valuable energy like fleet that isn't used for as much or as many things, and you could get a better drop rate overall for it. So I would encourage you, again, whether you're doing the 50s, 100s, or 200s, if you need Nisa at all, it really is worth it to go into the 50s for fleet if you typically would never do that, just because it's going to be easier for you to get her there in the fleet node, or more efficient rather, than it is for you to get her through the normal node process. So those are a couple of hyper efficiencies I wanted to call out. I guess I will go ahead and say it really doesn't matter how you farm Drogon or Scout, purely because there's not like this whole issue of a hard node or a normal node. You can literally just go in, and I'm not sure if it should be on mod battles here, I imagine, but you can just go in and sim the exact same thing that you need every single time. There's really no conversation there. I mean, all of these you need to do all of these at some point or another, so there really isn't an argument for which one's better than the other, because at the end of the day, you're going to get Drogon shards based off the energy. Pick whatever you want. And the same can really be said about Cantina as well for Scout. You're going to have the same exact premise here, just looking at all the signal data. What farm the signal data you need, or farm the character you need, it really doesn't matter. He's scaled to all energy equally, and again, you can spam these as many times as you want, which really does separate things from the current hard nodes that are out there. So yeah, definitely keep doing your Nisa and your Scout shards, assuming you are doing them already. And then on top of it, make a point to really not farm Krex's node, but instead go for some of those other hard nodes on the light side energy, to be able to get not only more Krex shards, but also more goodies along with it. So that is going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay awesome.